World of Warcraft identity has been lost to the ages. People argue all the time when it started. Personally, I believe it was Mist of Pandaria. We should have never had these damn pandas. They do not matter to the lore, and I don't find anything interesting about them. Now, that's just my personal opinion. You may think otherwise, and that's completely fine. Regardless, we're both stuck at the same boat. We all want Blizzard to make WoW great again. We all want orcs to have some chest hair. Well, not orcs specifically, just my favorite race, so you know me. I'm an orc warrior player at heart and always for the horde. But this man right here, oh, he is on a warpath to absolutely demolish Blizzard because he's been covering Blizzard Disneyfication of WoW for a while now. And I've tracked all of his videos. They're phenomenal, and he just released a new one. So I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say.
I've been playing World of Warcraft since 2007, and I've put way more hours than I'd like to admit into this game. But whenever I say Classic felt better, I get people telling me that I'm stuck in the past and that I'm just a classic Andy. But the thing is, some of my fondest memories in this game didn't happen when I was a teenager. They happened when Classic was re-released in 2019, and I can't say that's nostalgia. Classic taught me that if you want your
The nostalgia argument died the moment Classic released. It's that simple. I remember all of the people saying before Classic WoW was released that, hey, it's just nostalgia, you guys are not going to enjoy it, and then Blizzard released the server. Everyone played it, and nobody ever heard from these people again. It was beautiful. I love that. I felt so vindicated at the moment because I never got the opportunity to play the original release, right? Obviously, the game costed money. My parents refused to purchase anything online because back in the day, the internet was relatively new. So, yeah, I mean, I had to play it when Blizzard re-released it. And, oh, man, this was where I fell in love with World of Warcraft. It was crazy because before that, I played retail, and I kind of did it just because it was the only MMO around, the only good MMO around. And whenever I played Classic, I was changed forever. It was so good. I leveled up with my friend all the way to 60 and we raided together until he quit. And unfortunately after that I had to continue alone, but then I met the most amazing guild ever, and to this day, they are the best guild I've ever had in any video game whatsoever, period. It was glorious, man. I missed them so much. Unfortunately, I have the picture from when we defeated Naxxramas for the first time, and it's on my old PC. It's so unfortunate, man. I couldn't find it.
time to matter, you can't wait for the game to do everything for you. You have to talk to people, start groups, and make things happen for yourself. And because of that friction, you end up with something that retail just can't
You don't just click a button and it does it for you? Ooh, what? No, you have to be social in an MMORPG? Hell no. What in God's name are you talking about?
replicate real
Yikes.
community. So I reached out to people that I used to play WoW with, some that I haven't spoken to in years, and I asked them how they felt about Classic and retail. And hearing their voices again reminded me why World of Warcraft means so much to me. In Classic, you had to make things happen yourself. If you were sat in chat saying looking for group for whatever dungeon you wanted to do, it's likely you were going to spend a long time waiting for that group to happen. I personally learned to stop waiting for that group to happen and start making it myself. I started typing looking for more for that dungeon, and people came to me once I became...
Yeah, I did the same thing and it always works. Always. I mean, I don't know why. Whenever you try to search for someone, I guess because people are trying to like min-max, and usually most players are DPS, so whenever you like try to get into a group, they don't really search for DPS, but for some reason, if you're the one searching, you'll find it easy. I don't know, like it just works. Trust me.
the organizer, things just happened much faster. I'd be waiting a maximum of 10 minutes to do whatever dungeon I wanted to do. It also showed me that there's just a large subset of people that will never start their own group. They want someone else to take that step and start the group for them. Taking the first step completely changed the outcome. I could have been sat in that chat waiting for a group to appear for who knows how long, but as soon as I decided to make that group, suddenly things were actually going to start.
The main goal of an MMO developer is creating social interactions, facilitating people wanting and having to interact with other people, having to group up to kill Hogger, having to group up to clear a dungeon.
And that was a fundamental part of what made Classic WoW so special. But there was also the friction of getting places in Classic WoW. There was a lot of world to traverse, whether that was to go to a dungeon like Shadowfang Keep if you're on Alliance, or coming to the Dead Mines if you're Horde, or even getting certain buffs around the world. There was that friction of having to travel there. You want to get there quickly, and this created opportunities for people. On my server, there was a summoning service called Red Taxi. This was a person who'd set up their own little gnome warlock agency where you could get teleported wherever you want, whether that was Dire Maul for some buffs, or if a new raid opened, you could get teleported to the entrance of that raid. And I personally used Red Taxi so many times. I could whisper them on any ult that I want. I just knew they'd probably be online and get teleported right where I needed to go. There was even a point where me and my friends decided we wanted to capitalize a little bit on this, and we made our own warlock team outside of Dire Maul to summon people in, 5 gold for a teleport there. And we made a little bit of gold from doing so.
And you know what's the best thing about this? It all happened organically, because the players wanted it. This is the true sandbox experience that WoW used to offer. Obviously, it was very limited because of the, time and technology wasn't just like we have nowadays, but it worked. It worked, and it was beautiful. You didn't need Blizzard to summon you everywhere. It was good. You had people to do so. It was fantastic.
Classic had just enough inconvenience that players could build in-game businesses around those ideas.
You had all these sort of little micro economy money makers. You'd have people all day, every day, and all they would do is run Stratholme Live for Crusader orbs and sell them. Everyone had their own little micro economy ways of making money.
In a game where the friction has been removed in, let's say, retail World of Warcraft, where you can be teleported to the dungeon anytime you need to go, that whole layer of interaction and economy that was created there disappears. During Classic, there was a player on my server who was known for hosting raid runs in Onyxia's lair, and what he would do is hard reserve the bag and then sell it off for gold at the end of the run. Eventually, he made enough gold to actually cash that gold out and make, from what I heard, over £9,000 in real money. The guy who set up these raids had to be competent enough that people would want to keep coming back every week. And although people would always complain, how can you hard reserve the bag and sell it off at the end, people still joined the run because there was player-driven value in the fact that he was organising these raids. These other players weren't organising their own raids. The person who has the initiative to start the group has the say in what's hard reserved and what can be sold off. And honestly, it's moments like that that make World of Warcraft such a memorable game.
I did actually run Stratholme trying to get Baron Rivendar's mount, and I had a lot of gold. I offer people, it's like, hey, if this mount drops, I will pay each and every one of you 10,000 gold to pass.
So there was always people that were happy to just run Stratholme Undead with him. And you still, even if the mount didn't drop, you'd still get a decent amount of gold and sellables and things like that.
Let's talk about the leveling in Classic World of Warcraft. The leveling was slow, and that slow leveling meant that you built an attachment to the character that you played. It's also why the world became so memorable. It's why the zones stand out so much in my head, because I spent so much time in them. I was able to absorb that music of the zone, what the zone even felt like, the mobs I was killing. It's burnt into my head because I spent so much time there.
Absolutely. And that was what I think caused the downfall of a game called Fellowship, which I recently talked about. I made a video about this game. In case you don't know what this game is, basically, it's just Mythic Plus, but that's the entire game, okay? It sounds really weird. You can check it out for yourself. But yeah, that game didn't fly. Everyone played that game and just dipped after a couple of, I think, months, maybe 2 or 3 months. That's it. The game went from 40k consistent players to 900 in the span of 3 months. It was crazy. It died entirely. Now they released their new season 2, and they had, I think, 14k players, and then it just dipped again to nothing. So clearly the game is about to be shut down. It can't sustain itself. But regardless, the point that I was about to make is that in Fellowship, the main problem that nobody talked about was the fact that you couldn't customize your character. You played a pre-made character that nobody had any attachment to. I don't think they even had a story. So, for example, I wanted to play a tank. Now, the tank that I wanted to play was some old lady with a scar on her face. I don't want to play that. I want to play a big buff brown guy because that's who I aspire to be. Now, whenever you force me to play an old lady, I don't feel connected to the character. Thus, I do not enjoy the game. At least not as much as I would have if I had any sort of agency over my character creation and customization. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. For some reason, they decided to go this route. I don't really know why. Maybe they had a certain agenda in their mind. But anyway, it was cringe, and unfortunately, it was super detrimental to the game's health. It just hurt the RPG element, and from what I've seen in my comment section, many people agreed with me.
Just wandered about and hoped for the best. And I still remember that first ever trip. It was, you know, this is a core memory, is like that first trip going from Teldrassil, landing in Menful Harbour, trying to get to Ironforge, and doing that fucking terrifying wetlands run, and seeing a crocodile with a skull.
Oh man, I love doing this run. Every single time I blast on music and I do this special route that you know you're gonna die. You know you're gonna die at least once doing it. But goddamn, it is so good. Oh my god, I would do it all over again. I do not care. It's just so fun. It's so rewarding too, because you do it once and that's it. Once per character, obviously.
People should be thinking, right, this is not going the right way. Like, and it just hunting me down, just dying over and over and over again, trying to get to Ironforge just because I was so underleveled.
And when you were finally high enough level to do the elite quests of that zone, it became a milestone for leveling. When I was first leveling in Classic, the fort in Red Ridge Mountains became a place where arguments were bound to happen because there were multiple groups going for the same quest. These elite quests became peak moments of social interaction. You had to find some strangers to fill your group or convince some guildmates to come along, and you'd often find yourself contending with other groups there to do the same quest. So the friction of my group needing this quest mob and your group needing this quest mob, but only one of us can get the tag, would always result in something memorable happening.
You stealing the mob. That's it. You wait in the boss room. Yeah, they're doing it right now, and you're gonna steal it. Or some rogue is gonna be stealth and he's gonna insta-macro it and you're gonna cry. Because you're going to sit there for like 10 minutes and wait for the boss to respawn. Just for this to happen all over again.
Wait, what? These fuckers have just come up after we've cleared everything. Have you noticed this? You do realise, let's go, let's do it. Just hit the fucker, let's do it.
And I'll be honest here, if you want to call me a classic Andy, I am 100% a classic Andy. But at the time I was a full-blown WoW addict as well. I wanted to level up multiple characters because I wanted to raid on them every week. On my main character, it took me ages to reach level 60 and I built a huge attachment to that warrior. But for my ults, I wanted to get there quicker. And this is where boosters would come in. I would use the gold that I'd earned on my main character to pay for someone to boost me through dungeons on my ults. This meant that the progress I made with my main character would fund me taking a shortcut with the leveling on my other characters.
To be completely honest, boosting is still to this day a very contentious point because I think many people still argue over if it's fine or not. I think they want a Blizzard to nerf it or just outright remove it. Personally, myself, I'm against boosting. I think it's really bad. I think it elevates mage players into a level that should not exist within a video game because it created so much disparity between other classes that couldn't do the same, and I did not like that. Now, that being said, it is kind of fall into the argument that I mentioned earlier of natural player interaction, and players are deciding their own future and stuff, and they manage to sell services within the game, the sandbox experience, which I do understand, but I think there's a limit to it. I don't think that you should be able to pull an entire dungeon and then just blizzard them all over the place just to boost people. I don't think it's fun, I don't think it's engaging, and I don't think it has a place in an MMORPG. Now, many people would disagree with me, and that's completely fine. That's why we're here talking about this. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's the right one, but that's just how I feel, personally.
But it wasn't going into an in-game shop and giving Blizzard $40 for the privilege of it. I was giving other players gold. I'm not saying that all friction is good. I don't want to level every character at that slow pace to reach the end game. But the fact that it's there present in game and you can talk to other players, me paying you some gold to boost me through a dungeon, it meant that the game still felt social.
I'll send that gold to an alt and pay someone to boost me through a dungeon because this is the 5th character I'm leveling and I've done all the quests so many times I can't stand to look at them anymore.
On my alts, on my friends list, I would have these mages that were running Scarlet Monastery, that were boosting in Moradin, that were boosting in Zul'Gurub, and they became people that I knew in my head. And in the future, when it came time that I wanted another character to level up, I would find them still online and I'd send them a whisper.
And now you can just whisper Blizzard. You can open your wallet and bam, max level. Enjoy. Truly the Blizzard way.
Let's talk about gear in classic World of Warcraft, because gear wasn't always just higher number equals better. It mattered what kind of stat you were going for, and there was an endless amount of side grades that you could get. Did I want to get hit percent gear? Did I want crit percent gear? Did I want more defense? And one of the best things about classic World of Warcraft was the long-term relevance of some of those items. It made getting that gear feel like you were building out your character's toolset. When my friend reached max level, we went out of our way to get him the Mugger's Belt, and this would give him Dagger's skill increase. This meant that he could specialise in being a Dagger's warrior. There's another item in Molten Core, the Aged Core leather gloves, that give you the same stat, and this was useful throughout the whole game if you wanted to use daggers. For some bosses you might need nature resistance, and this suddenly made old content matter again. If I went into the dungeon Moradin, it dropped nature resistance gear, and these items were suddenly relevant again when those bosses came out. In Classic, a blue item or a specific green item might actually be more useful than a purple item if it solved the right problem.
The important thing with Classic WoW versus later WoW is that your progress matters. If you go Blackrock Depths, you get the trinket that gives you the extra swing. It's actually worth grinding that out, because when you've got it, it lasts you multiple raid tiers. It's not a case of just a new raid tier comes out and everything from the previous one is wiped out.
For me in retail, it often feels like your gear has an expiration date of the next patch.
It has. It's not a feeling, it's just a fact. That's how the game plays, and that's how Blizzard intentionally built it, so they can hook you in, once a new patch comes out. They just want to erase all the progression. That's how Blizzard doggy trained you into constantly subscribing. That's garbage. I mean, we all know that, and that's why player count dropped significantly from back in the day. I mean, nobody want to be lured into it. The only reason people still play World of Warcraft, it's because it's the only good MMO around that is honestly like vertical, right? Because the other options are Guild Wars 2 and FF14, which are their own genre. To be honest, they're completely different, and if you love them, you love them. I played both of them. They're great games, and WoW is still the king regardless. Like, WoW is still the best out there. Now, that being said, I mean, Blizzard kind of trained us to have a full epic gear as like a normal thing. In Classic, that's not the case, really. Like, it's just not. And that was the beauty of it. You can make do fine without it. It was so good, man. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, epic felt epic. Legendary felt like a legendary. Times were different. Now it's not. It's just so garbage. It's just so bad. I really hate what retail have become. The incessant... I don't even know how to call it, like loot grind fiesta. It's just really bad. I don't want to see more gear. I want to see less gear. As weird as it sounds, that's what I want. I want loot scarcity. It's important because it makes you feel better whenever you get something that you need.
And I'm not here to just bash retail, because there are good things about that game and it's a fit for many people. Like many of you say, you love the convenience, you love being able to play on your own.
They have been trained to love the convenience. They can be trained otherwise. They don't like LFG. They can do completely fine without it. They just have been trained to save time because they used to just, I don't know, go back to whatever the hell they're doing, regardless of playing World of Warcraft. But in my opinion, if you don't have at least 3 hours to actually play your favorite MMORPG, you shouldn't be playing it. Now, people may think otherwise if they only have 1 hour a day to play, but I believe that. I believe that with 3 hours a day, you can do just fine in an MMORPG. Because Classic, the thing is, you can level up as fast as you want. Eventually, you'll plateau at the end, because you reach rating point where everyone just farms Molten Core. And it doesn't really matter, as long as you do it once a week, that's it. You don't need to make more time for it. So you can take your time leveling, eventually you hit the same spot where everyone else is, and it's even more beneficial for you because everyone else now got the gear, so you'll get everything. It's just better this way. So it kind of, Blizzard created a system where everyone can enjoy at their own pace. It was crazy. Nowadays, there's a ton of FOMO, again, on purpose by Blizzard, and everyone is just forced to play as soon as they can and as much as they can. And that's what ruins the game for me, because I don't like to feel pressured or bullied into playing a game. I like to come into and sit on my PC and just think, oh, do I want to play this game right now? If the answer is yes, I fire the game up and I play for as many hours as I want or I can afford. Nowadays, obviously, I don't have as much time as I used to back in the day, but I just do it, right? I just play for how long I want. But back in the old days, back with Blizzard, you can't really do that because you'll feel that if you don't log in today and do your dailies and do your chores, you will miss out on so many things that would become irrelevant next patch. And I don't want to be back into this loop again. I had enough with BFA. I hated the dailies. Oh my god. The turtle made it to the water. Like, who cares? It was so cringe. I hated myself for playing that expansion, and oh my god, thank god I quit before Shadowlands. Okay, I actually managed to get a refund, but it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. We've been doggy trained, and we've been force-fed FOMO our entire, I don't know, like the entire past 5 years. I just hate that. I had enough of it, man.
Love the fact that gear is easier to obtain. For me, at the end of the day, the progress in retail feels disposable. I could pick any of the recent retail expansions that I've played, and I'll play for the first patch, get myself some purple gear, and I get myself unsubbed from the game because I lose interest. But then I come back towards the end, and all that purple gear that I invested time to get has now been replaced by new green gear, and it feels really painful to do that. It just makes me think to myself, why did I even bother playing in that earlier patch? Why did I even bother playing at all?
Even though it's quicker, if I was to actually really get involved, there's always something else to do. I'm always falling behind.
Items you get in Vanilla WoW matter. You know what those items are. Even if you haven't played the game for a decade, some of the names of these items immediately ring a bell. If someone got Thunder Fury, you're like, wow, I know what that means. I know the significance of it.
In Classic, it felt like I owned the progress. It wasn't going away. Whereas in retail, it's almost like I've been renting this power. It's just going to disappear the second the next update comes out.
As time goes on, going all the way to retail, you see every 3 months, everything you have done prior is immediately invalidated.
But let's not just glaze Classic WoW for the sake of it. There was some friction that was genuinely annoying. 10-minute flight path times going from one end of the world to the other.
Yeah, Classic wasn't perfect. And I should have made it clearer sooner. Like, the game had many problems that were fixed on later expansion, and that's completely fine. We took the good with the bad, but at the same time, there was a lot of bad.
A lot of waiting and downtime in between fights, and forming groups can feel like a hassle when you just want to get into the dungeon. Walking across the barrens can be boring as hell, but it's that downtime during that friction when boredom might start to arise, when some of the best moments can happen.
That downtime doesn't feel like it, because especially if you're in a team or a good group of people, that just creates a space to have the fun in between.
It could break out into random PvP. You could end up talking to someone along the way and having a funny interaction. You might even end up helping someone doing a quest, or someone might end up helping you. You might be in a dungeon you've done countless times and it ends up being one of the funniest times ever.
Also, it's just a really good breakpoint between missions, because you don't want constant dopamine rushes. It was good that you had a quest on one side and then another quest on a completely opposite one. So you can do like quests in bulk and then move between zones, and then you had the best feeling in the world just going back to town and completing all of them and just gain a ton of XP all at once. It's the best feeling in the world. Nowadays, you don't have that. Oh, what the hell was that? Oh my god. Perfect pause.
You laughing is making me laugh. Can you stop?
Bro,
please?
that was a wet one as well. No way. He did it again.
When everything is efficient and instant
True
and even
gamers.
automated, you might get more done, but less sticks out in your memory. Classic takes longer, but by the end of it, it feels like you really achieve something when you complete that dungeon.
There we
Hey,
go.
you
I
did
did.
this.
Whaling Cavern's complete.
And when you've hit the point when you and your raid team have
Bro, nobody's happy when Wailing Caverns is complete. You just say, thank God, and you yeet yourself the hell out of that dungeon. That slow ass Tauren that you need to walk through all the way to the boss. Jesus, oh my God. I hate the Wailing Caverns more than anything. I think it's my most hated dungeon too. I just hate it. I do not like it one bit.
wiped over and over again on a certain boss, naturally you might reach breaking points.
I still vividly remember the Nax, the one that you got a video of.
And we are fucking overgeared for
Oh, I
this
love
fight.
this boss.
The only thing that's keeping us from killing this boss is performance and nothing else. Like, it's not even down to consumables, for fuck's sake. The consumables are such a minor bit of extra healing done on this fight. The big difference is losing people to Frostbreath and Cleave.
Now he's mad. He's tilted.
Hundreds of healings done per second.
It's just hilarious.
Honestly, this moment is one of the most memorable times I had in Classic WoW. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. In retail, there are
Time's
guilds
up.
and
Let's
raid
do
groups
this.
just as close as the ones you're talking about in Classic WoW. And you're right, that is 100% true. But in retail, it is up to you to seek out that social interaction. Whereas in Classic, it kind of just happens along the way. And in some areas, it just
Of course, because retail doesn't create a space for you to have these interactions. They just force you to jump from one carrot to the other without finishing the first one. So it's just how the game is built. It was not meant to be played with other people. It was meant to play solo.
outright demands it of you. Retail WoW may be more difficult mechanically, but in Classic WoW, a lot of the difficulty comes from simply managing people. Even getting 40 people
or being an idiot.
People together for a raid and getting them to do one strategy is difficult enough. The sheer amount of work that went in behind the scenes to get these 40-man raids up and running and getting people on the same page is not to be understated. The officers in our guild...
And also managing threat level. But again, these are the bad parts of Classic, right? Obviously, they got rid of 40-man raids immediately in TBC. And threat meters and, of course, how do you call that? When you can't put too many debuffs on, like, debuff limit, right? I think it had a different name. But anyway, you had a debuff limit and it was so bad. So most of the, like, difficult systems came from just, I don't know, I think Blizzard just made poor decisions. I don't think it was technology thing. But at the same time, they were really bad and it was good that they were replaced.
Were in private officer meetings almost daily on our Discord.
We always had sign-up sheets, we had like a roster, made sure it was even each time. If someone couldn't make it, we'd swap it out. It was always very easy. I never had any issues with joining raids at all. It was a really fair rotation on drops and raids and dungeons. We had polls and everything, so it was really, really fair.
And for a time, I was part of the raid leadership team on the raid team too, and I was in these meetings as well. That could have been debating the DKP system, absences. If there was the loot council system we ended up with, it would be debating who deserves what item, which upgrade works best for which person. You had to take into consideration who was the most reliable person, not just who was the most skilled person.
There are a lot of transferable skills between raid leading and managing a team in a corporate setting. You have to consider people's motivation, their own personal struggles, what are their strengths and weaknesses. In some ways, it is even more difficult to lead people, to manage people inside World of Warcraft because the people under you are not contractually obligated to be there.
And why did we do that? Well, it's because the gear actually meant something. That gear was an investment into that person. The stakes felt high, and sometimes arguments would break out over who got what item.
I am kind of happy for now.
What?
What? You may never say it again.
Hunter passing on a bow?
Yes. What?
Crazy.
Hey, that's-
Unbelievable.
That's what you play the game for.
I've talked before about how World of Warcraft feels like a single player game now.
I thought he was going to show a ninja loot moment, but unfortunately he didn't. I guess he wanted to keep this video positive.
When you remove all the friction that we've talked about in Classic WoW, you remove the reason to even look at the person standing next to you. Classic takes longer, but at the end of the day, it feels like you've achieved something. Oftentimes, if I join a dungeon through Dungeon Finder in retail WoW, not a word is said, but in Classic,
Because most people you were grouped with actually don't speak English.
there'll at least be something in the party
That's
chat.
why-
As far as I can tell, retail is about rushing to that destination, but Classic is that old adage of it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I like that Classic lets us struggle together. I might work with you to find your best in slot item or get that mugger's belt to get that plus daggers. But it feels like modern systems let you skip straight to that reward and on the way skip the relationship that you might have formed. And this is where I just want to mention that there are many of you that do prefer these systems in retail. And I must say, sometimes I do like to log in, be able to press the I button and find a dungeon. It's fun. And the fact that it is friendly for solo players means that for those of you who are looking for a single player experience, retail WoW might be a better place for you.
I love...
But also it works because the way Mythic Plus functions, you kind of have all of these systems, and just dungeons in general, how in retail, like they worked, right? You want to group up really fast because you want to spam the same content over and over again. In Classic, that wasn't the case. A dungeon was a whole experience. So you really wanted to meet up with the people you were actually about to go this journey with, and you wanted to make sure they were reliable. Right? Because if you quit mid-dungeon, going through the process all over again is going to be such a hassle, you might as well just skip it. So these were important because the dungeons were big. Nowadays, that's not the case. You have bite-sized dungeons that nobody really cares about or get attached to, and nobody remembers, quite honestly. I don't remember a single BFA dungeon. I remember parts that I thought was fun. There was like this pirate jail one, which I found to be pretty fun, and Sky Captain Crag, which is one of my favorite characters because I used to play Hearthstone. So these were fun. I remember certain bosses, but I don't remember the entire experience. Not like I do with Classic, at least. And I remember every Classic dungeon, from the worst to the best. I remember all of them. So, you know, it just goes to show they were important. People actually sear them into memory.
Raid Finder. I don't want to have to be social in a video game.
And the convenience that retail WoW brings does mean that if you have 30 minutes to play, you're going to get more done in retail than Classic.
Retail has brought in buttons, looking for raid, looking for dungeon, delves if you don't even want to play with people, which is great because not everyone has the time to invest in asking about and doing all of that.
So don't play an MMORPG. It may sound harsh, that's what I believe.
But I think not having that in the game loses
Go play
a lot
something
of its
else.
charm. It loses a lot of its opportunity for fun social moments.
At the end of the day, Classic felt better to me because it made things feel like it actually mattered. It rewarded initiative for starting your own groups. It gave you a real sense of progression, and the gear felt meaningful and worthwhile to keep. The world felt like a place you wanted to hang around in, and there were players that you wanted to talk to. The world felt like a place that you wanted to explore, and you spent so much time in it leveling up that it left an impression on you. If I met another player during a quest, oftentimes I'd invite them to a group, and we might end up chatting so we can get that quest done together. And it was a world that gave you just enough friction, just enough problems for it to feel like it mattered. What I'm missing isn't just an old version of World of Warcraft.
WoW Classic gave me closure on World of Warcraft. We killed the Lich King repeatedly. In the end, WoW wasn't really about gear or mounts. I think it was just hearing familiar voices. And weirdly, 20 years later, I can still remember the voices of the people that I played with all that time ago.
It was a design philosophy that created a lasting meaning that I still feel years later. It might sound cheesy, but it really is all about people.
WoW was really fun, but most games are fun, and it's the people you play it with, not the game itself, majority of the time.
It honestly warms my heart to hear from the people that I used to play with and to hear why World of Warcraft is so meaningful to you. Thank you so much for your contributions to this video. And thank you for watching. I want to thank everyone that...
Yeah, I mean, great video. Absolutely fantastic video. This guy has become one of my most favorite creators. I love watching his WoW videos. They're phenomenal. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Obviously, you guys go into that right now. Give this man a like and a sub. He clearly deserves it. But I spoke too much already. For some reason, I managed to turn an 18-minute video into almost 35-minute video. Jesus, man, how am I so good at yapping? I don't know. I don't even know what I did. Regardless, I'm not going to drag this any longer. It was a fantastic video. But yeah, he was right all the way until the end when he said that this game was about the players. WoW used to just be kind of a place where you meet people, and the game aspect was a unifying force. It wasn't really, well, it was the main goal, but more about the experience and meeting other people. So it was fantastic. It was good. Everyone had fun, and I really wish Blizzard would take notes from the release of Classic. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're about to do this anytime soon.